Okay, welcome to, I guess it's meeting number 13 for class of 2022. A lot of good stuff we want to cover today. Before I go there, sometimes there might be a question, and if it's going to be covered in the meeting, I'll tell you. Anybody have a burning question that they'd like to ask me? I'll do it again at the end, of course, and all during the meeting you can ask. But does anybody have one they know they have that think they'd be of interest to others? Anybody? Okay, I assume everybody can hear me well here. Oops, the microphone wasn't turned around. Somebody give me a thumbs up if they can hear me. Excellent, okay. Well, that was a real thumb, Jillian. You got a real thumb, get out of here. All right, thank you all very much. All right, let's go ahead, let me go ahead and put up today's slide deck. I'm really happy with today's presentation and what it will entail. Let me go ahead and get that out of here. I'll take down the YouTube. Okay. And here we are. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. I got some folks coming in still. See if we can't get those people in here. I think. Okay, this is our 13th meeting. Like I said, I gotta stop it. There we go. And here are no questions. I'll go ahead and get us started. Number of great topics tonight. Some things I couldn't get in here. Always check our YouTube channel. I'll be letting you know about videos we had before that are referred to today. I did an extensive presentation on student loans about 3 weeks ago. That video is available. Did 2 great other videos this week that related to seniors going to college. And you can always check our video channel. If you subscribe, you'll be notified when we drop a new video. We'll talk about that again later. Here's some public service announcements. First, I want to say I'm glad the Rams won. So if you were a 49er fan, let me just move on. Los Angeles Trade Tech College classes exclusively through our program. We're going to be pushing for enrollment this week. We'll have some enrollment incentives to announce to seniors, I believe. We want to get that to you next week. So watch your email for sure about that. But we think it's a good idea, and we explained why and proved why 3 weeks ago, and then again a month ago. It's good to get credits while you're in high school of any kind. It will shorten your time in college from your standpoint, will make it more affordable, and it gets you experience with professors. So we're strong advocates of getting credits while you're in college. We're offering 2 great classes. I'll put a flyer up and ask Christina to say a couple of words to you in just a moment. I'm going to put and there is Christina's email address. If you just came on, please mute yourself. I should have done automatic to do it. Please mute. Let me find out who that is. I can do that, I think, right there. Okay, I did it. Okay, Christina Martinez is cmartinez.ep@gmail.com. I didn't say that there. Okay. Also, our homework club is for open enrollment. Sometimes things get a little tough in your science and math classes. That last year, you want to guard against senioritis. We always will see a senior in our homework club for free. They can get three free sessions with our homework people online. If it's advanced math, science, whatever it is, foreign language, whatever, we'll do that for you because you're seniors. And we don't want to see senioritis get you or a critical class you're not able to do well in. We have a Spanish school by our partners registering students for non-credit enrichment classes, which will help you get fluent. If you're interested in that, get a hold of me, shoot me an email. I think I consider learning Spanish being fluent in Spanish, if you can do it, as a job skill, as a career skill. I really do. So you definitely want to think about that if you can. You might want to think about, we have that through our program. Here's that information about the trade tech classes. Unfortunately, we have a hard deadline for registration of February 14th. We want to keep these exclusive offerings. We want to keep doing this. If we don't get the participation, we'll have to move on from it and just encourage people to do it on their own. The advantage with us is that you take it as a class, and as a dedicated teacher who we work with and pick to work with your student to teach them how to deal with a college professor. In addition, it helps us with our influence with the university, get the programs that we really want them to have for us. But feel free to look into these classes, seniors. It's really a good idea to do this, especially those of you who are doing well in your classes anyway. Why don't you pick up a credit or two? What do you say? That'd be a good thing to do. Christina, anything extra you want to say here, Christina?
No, this flyer really gives a great information. We'll be offering Art History 101 and History 11. What I will add, in case if any student has taken these two courses before, feel free to let me know, and then I can also offer different courses that offers directly with Trade Tech, and I'll give you in contact with that person's information. But that's if you have already taken Art History 101 and History 11. Besides that, feel free to email me any questions, or you can ask questions right now as we are live, and let us know what any other information that you would like to get.
All right, great. Thanks, Christina. That's Christina Martinez. She's going to be graduating from CSU Dominguez Hills this semester. And of course, you heard Quinn Davis. Hi, Quinn.
Hello.
And Quinn is a graduate of CSU Long Beach, is our communications and whatever specialist. I don't think that's what I call her, communication specialist. And our project assistant, really extraordinaire, is Christina Martinez. You can contact either one of them to get a hold of me on any issue. I have Christina's email address everywhere. So people will call her and get a hold of me. That's fine. Just stay in touch with her if you have any questions and you can't reach me. Although right now, this time of year, I'm very sensitized and can be reached. And I'll go over my contact information at the end. All right, the college enrollment process and its challenges. Some view graphs, a couple here we saw before, but a lot of new stuff. Of course, the college application is the first part of the process. The application is accepted. Now, here's the thing. You need to determine the cost. Got a great help and guidance for you today on that. You can review the direct cost of the college, review the financial aid award, and you can determine the cost of the college. Here's 10 common college enrollment process errors that you could be making right now. It's basically it's usually in January, sometimes February, where these process errors can come up because you're going into the enrollment process, and usually anything after you accept the offer for admission. But I include the admission offer period as pre-enrollment because there's issues there. If you don't do it right, could affect your enrollment possibilities. Enrollment means you've been accepted to university, now you've decided to go. But I think the period before that is quite important as well. Depositing for a school without knowing the cost of the school. I mean, just because your school you always wanted accepts you, it's not time to deposit. It's time to sit back and read and interpret the financial aid award. Remember I told you the analogy of going into a store and just getting something off the shelf, get to the counter, you find out how much it is, and then you pay whatever they say. We don't want to do that. You want to count up the cost, figure out what that school, even if it is your dream school, students, you'll be far happier in a school where your parents don't have to stretch, don't have to get a lot of debt. It's just not something that's, especially this economy and things that are happening with inflation right now, we just don't need to get any more debt than we need to. I said we because I'm a parent. I put 2 through college. Not visiting the college that you end up attending if the COVID-19 responses allow it. You should really push for a visit to a college. And we have some visits planned to colleges. I'll mention that in a moment. But please don't go to a school without visiting. You just plan it into your agenda. Now, of course, that means that you found out that you have a lot of colleges you've applied to. That means it's harder for you to determine where to visit. It's going to take longer for you to determine it. I have some things that will help you. A spreadsheet you can use that's very helpful, but you have to have had this session. So this session will help you. Then I can give you a tool that you can use to figure out quickly the cost of the colleges, because you're definitely not going to visit any colleges too much money. Unable to complete your FAFSA verification is a key one. I guess I say this twice today. You need to call this 800 number and order your federal tax transcript right now. It's probably a good idea rather than this is homework from the meeting. The government's going to do more verification this year than they've ever done. And I call it even unplanned verifications, off-schedule verifications. Verification means that you file the FAFSA. Now they're going to verify the information by requesting. And the first step is to request the federal income tax transcript. And that can be ordered from that phone number. You can get it to you in 5 to 7 days. I'll mention it again later in the meeting, don't worry. And you'll get a copy of this presentation. I'm sure my people several times during the meeting, hint, you guys, will put it up in the chat. Okay, so you can have the information from that on that end. So that way, if they request verification, you're already ready. They want a copy of the transcript, just have to make a copy of it. Or you can order 2 sets and send them 1. Not watching the CSU portals. These are common college enrollment process errors. Not watching the CSU portals. That happens a lot. You can read the rest of that bulletin. Let me just talk about it. That happens a lot. And here's how it happens. And I feel so bad when it happens because usually students end up in 2-year college because they didn't check their portals. You'd think it happens if they only apply to CSU. That's not when it happens. Usually that if it's only CSU, they pay attention to them. It happens when there's another private school or another school you really want, and you find out you can't go, but that's not till April. And when you turn to try to go to CSU, you've missed important emails and you're no longer enrolled in the school. They've disenrolled you. So I really need you right now to commit to looking at those portals. And there's a lot of you here today why did not do your applications. And I hope you've been watching the email and are setting up your portals. Others that I do have here, you've already set them up. You're not stressed about it. But now you got to check them regularly. I need you to check those portals regularly, okay? Parents, it's a good idea to delegate it to the student. They really should be doing it because we're too busy as parents. But if you need help, that's why the good Lord created Christina Martinez, right, Christina? If they just email Christina.
Definitely.
Yeah, email Christina. She'll get something going. Maybe I'll join the Zoom meeting. If they set up a Zoom, I'll join. And we'll help the student to go through and set up their portals. Sometimes we just do a form if they're too busy. But you should set up your portals to be checking them regularly. So who can I randomly ask how that's going? We've got a lot of students here today. Jordan, how you doing, Jordan? Are you doing that?
Yes, checking the account portals regularly. The last one I need to set up is Boise State and Cornell University. They just allowed access later, like the last week of January. So I have like some things I need to finish up for that one.
Great. And how about your CSU stuff? You looked at it, have you set up into those portals yet?
Weapon?
The CSU portals, they have emails that are telling you to set them up. Have you done that yet?
Here's the interesting thing. For mine, Sacramento State, they emailed my mom saying that I was accepted, but I had to go type in like type it in. So I'm not sure. Like I had a different.
Oh yeah, they do that. Yeah. Hey, if we need to talk about that in our call, let's do that. What about any other ones?
All right.
Well, by the way, congratulations, you were accepted.
Thank you.
So anyway, I guess you can see he's on it. Just really get on those portals, and I don't want to see you get surprised and have that happen. Okay. Thanks, Jordan. I appreciate that. What's another thing that's a common error? You never sent your transcripts to private colleges or out-of-state public universities. You're wondering why other people heard and you haven't, and it could be that they never got your transcript. So if you did not send your transcript, now that's not CSU UC. They do not require transcripts unless they ask you for it, and they will ask you. But guess where they ask you? Through the portal or through email. So if you're not watching, you won't see it. But there's a common problem is with out-of-state schools or private universities, the transcript was never received. You never sent the CSS profile and financial aid documentation to private colleges that require it. A lot of those deadlines are February 1st, and some of them are February 15th. So you really need to get an understanding whether your private college required it. I have actually the private colleges in my mind that require it, but you can go to you can Google CSS profile college list, and you'll get a list of all the schools. Again, if you're having any trouble with that or don't understand what I'm talking about, you need to email me, text me, email Christina's, and we'll get you in to see that, okay? But the CS profile is a required financial aid document for many private colleges, not most, many. Many of them require that. Even there's some rare out-of-state public universities that require it, but our CSUs and UCs do not require it. LMU doesn't require it. But there are lots of schools in the area that do require it. Chapman College, Occidental, USC, they all require the CS profile. Those are not the only ones, but they require the CS profile, for example. If there are any questions, just speak right up or put it in the chat, please. What's another common enrollment process error? Depositing for more than one school. So I have a question when people deposit for more than one school. How far will you go with the deposits? Will you make housing deposits at all the schools? Will you make orientation deposits? Remember, they're non-refundable. So really, it's a good idea to focus on one school. I'll talk about your timeline for that in this meeting as well. You're missing colleges on your CS, your FAFSA, or your profile. You did these documents, but you're missing colleges. I'll show you how to deal with that a little later in the presentation. Inadequate academic performance in a required class during the second semester. I talked about that in the beginning. I called it senioritis, but that's kept students out of good colleges too. You want to really guard against that. Misinterpretation of what a wait list is. If you're waitlisted by a college, I need you to act like you weren't admitted and continue to work on your schools. Because by the time they get back to their wait list, it's often, probably will be, well after the May 1st decision deadline. And usually they tell you in waitlist letters to go ahead and go through and do this. Sometimes they don't. So if you're waitlisted or if they defer you and never get back to you during this period, consider it like a waitlist and treat waitlists like rejections and move on. Just in that way, if they come back to you, you already have a school, you can make an intelligent decision at that point. Please have some good reasons to attend the college that you pick. Here's some good reasons. It's affordable and cost sustainable without a large debt. I think these are actually in priority order. Affordable and cost sustainable without large debt with acceptable debt. Some people think that this should not be my first bullet. It should first be a school that's a good fit. I don't think you should look at schools if they're not affordable at all. It doesn't matter if they're a good fit at all. They're not affordable. I was looking online to buy some belts, right? There was a certain amount I was going to spend on the belt. And I looked at only the ones that had that price, but I noticed there were other ones, that I'd love to have it, but they weren't my price. So I didn't buy them, okay? I'm not spending $150 on a belt. Shoot, I might not spend more than $50 on a belt. Oh, well, sorry, a little extra information for you there. But the point is, why even look at schools that are not? And that's why I put number one, affordable and cost sustainable without large debt. Parent and youth agree substantially on the college. Parent and youth need to be in agreement. A lot of parents think, well, I want them to go to the college that they want. And then students also say, I don't want them to want to go somewhere where I want to go somewhere where, or I don't want to go somewhere my parents want to send me. And parents, I don't want to go somewhere there. I think both should be in agreement. There should be consensus on what college is picked. I can help a lot with that too, by the way. I'm ready to do that like I do every year. But there should be substantial agreement on the college. Because after all, the parents are going to pay for it usually. Career path is evident with other options. Yeah, I like to see a pathway to a career. Notice I did not say major. Did everybody notice that? I very seldom speak in terms of major. I think in terms of career path. What about the career path? Is it evident? The feel of the campus. Now you get to the feel of the campus. It's very acceptable. So if these first three criteria are met, now we're into feel. And sometimes you get into other nice comforts too. I've seen students that get past the first 3 or 4 and they pick a school because they have Chick-fil-A on campus, or they have Jamba Juice on campus, or they have 2 Starbucks, or they have a nice football team or whatever. These are nice comforts of the school, nice things. This is why, you don't see on the list at all, my friends go there, any of those kind of things, but comforts, because you're going to be in the school, 4 years, so 3 or 4 years. So that's important. All right. Those are some good reasons to attend a particular college. That's the way I kind of look at it anyway. Let's review the enrollment process, the front end of the enrollment process. or just what kind of like the insertion into enrollment. Admission acceptance, you visit the college, you receive the financial aid award, you figure out how much is owed, and you get a non-refund, you pay your non-refundable deposit and housing deposit. So getting accepted is just the first of 4 steps for you to determine where you're going. You got to do that for each school. You know, I know very quickly lists get narrowed down and all the work you did is just gone, but you really should theoretically do it for every school and have a reason for disqualifying it. The problem is you can't visit every college. I mean, if you have 15, 20, 30 colleges, somebody has 35 this year, you're not going to visit those colleges. So probably you'll jump to step 3, figure out how much is owed and figure out which ones are cut away for that reason. Then maybe you can visit 1, 2, or 3 of them. Next meeting, I'll show you mathematically, you can only visit 2 or 3 colleges because you have only a finite amount of travel money and time, really. Okay, that brings us over to our travel. I did send an email out on it. Many of you have signed up already. And some trips are being pretty much unregistered for. I mean, the University of San Diego, I had probably 15 people apply there. You know, no one signed up for it yet. Maybe you're waiting to see if you get in. I think that's maybe what's going on. That's a later trip. You're probably okay. I do have people sign up for Sonoma State, so that's going to happen. I got a couple looking at the Boise State trip, and I'm going to Washington, D.C. as well. I think as we get closer to that date, I have that as my last trip. It's in April 9th. So people will know whether they get into their DC schools, and that's probably what they're going to wait on. The earlier you do purchase, you do get a lower price on your tickets. That is true. I have a way of buying them that way. That will be very helpful. So these are the 5 steps basically on the college enrollment front end. Admission acceptance, again, I ran through these last week, but let me do it again. Got a lot of questions on it this week. It's required by May 1st. So really you don't need to rush students. I think you should do it by the 15th to the 25th. That's a good time period. 15th for some schools that have small amount of housing. Check with me and I'll tell you. And 25th for all those schools. I would not take the decision too far close to the 1st. Unless there's a trip you're going to take, you want to have that trip first. But I see people who aren't even traveling holding out decisions till May 1st. And now the servers are all jammed. And I think last year the UC server jammed. And a bunch of people couldn't get their deposits done. And you know, UC did not accept those students. They were trying to limit enrollment anyway. For many schools, it's required. Admission acceptance, you have to do that to even get housing information. But most schools are going to tell you about housing before that. You can deposit on it. But there's some that won't allow you to do anything on housing till you accept admission. For nearly all schools, a deposit is required. Now, there are many where no deposit is required, actually. You just have to tell them you're going to come. But for most, there is some kind of deposit. And it ranges from $50 at some schools. And I've seen it as high as $900 to $1,000. I'll explain that in just a minute. There's actually an explanation again. It's a non-refundable deposit. Let me move this out of the way. It's a non-refundable deposit. I say nothing to 900, that's about right. Some schools like Sonoma State require the housing deposit at the same time you deposit on the school. And so, and also the orientation deposit is in there too. That makes your total deposit $850, but you got your housing deposit covered. Other schools, that deposit is all a registration deposit. They don't require a housing deposit. There's a lot of different things schools do. The important thing is that none of these deposits is covered by financial aid. So start thinking about that now. And sometimes that's a factor in your decision. If you get down to 3 schools you like the same, one has a large deposit, the other 2 don't. I think the 2 that don't have the edge. If that's the 2 you visit, you don't visit the other one. You know, money doesn't grow on trees, as we used to say. Other early enrollment requirements: new student orientation, parent orientations. Yes, there's usually a cost of parent orientation parents. Factor that in with your travel to the college, which is also not covered by financial aid. Basically, your financial aid will not kick in until you sit down in your seat at the campus. So a lot of my students who have reduced income, you know, really suffer during the travel period. They're not able to travel to schools. If they pick a school that they have traveled to, they can't do a lot of this early stuff. You need to let me know if that's your situation as early as you can. I might be able to suggest some things to you. It's really a problem. We can give advocacy assistance with admission for the following college, meaning we have a connection or a communication, or they've asked me for a list of students. We did an email on this, and I have to say the responses to the email have been the lowest in the history of my program. And I know there's a lot of people who are looking at some of these schools. Some of you are telling me about schools that aren't on my list. Let me give you the list. It's Long Beach, Bakersfield, LMU, GW, University of San Diego, Boise State, Poly San Luis Obispo, CSU Los Angeles. They would like to know which of my students are applying to these schools. So if you're going to be applying to those schools, please let me know. Just one other one, Biola, I suppose, but I only know of one person applying to Biola. I think she's in this meeting and knows who she is. And yes, I've already talked to them. So you remember, we have other things to talk to them about too. All right, so sometimes I can help with advocacy assistance. Give me a chance to do that. If you've applied to CSU Long Beach, I should have heard of you by now. The problem is she wants my list by tomorrow at 6 p.m. So I really need to know the Long Beach ones. Who else is pushing me hard? I think I've got a GW I need to know by Wednesday, because after that, they've done all the review of the application, or most of the applications. Okay. Email Quinn Davis. Just email her, let us know your youth is applying to the school. Should get you on the list, and then I'll be able to email the school and tell them and provide to them their high school and other information. Give a little push to each school, each student, okay? Any questions on that? I hope that's clear enough for you.
I have a question.
Go right ahead.
You already took care of that. You already know I'm applying to these schools. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So if already I'm working with you, guess what? I already knew.
All right.
And by the way, your mother emailed anyway.
It's always good to check in.
Yeah, I think she emailed me. All right, I think she's here too. Are you here, Sister Eunice?
Yes, I am.
I knew you were there. How you doing? All right, let's go on here. Other timely advice. This is the latest view graph I added, by the way. And yes, I did switch to view graphs on the drive, Quinn and Christina. Try not to be stressed. God is in control. You know, He is. If you apply to UC and CSUs, daily checks on your portals and email. I'm reminding you of that again. It's required. Even if you do not want to go to CSU or in-state right now, you should really check those portals. I don't want to see anybody left out in the cold. On many of your private colleges, this is a good one, everybody. Calls by students to check the application status are welcomed and can help. They notice that and they mark your record. Now, parents, please do not make the calls. They notice that and they're not too happy with that. The student needs to care enough to make that call. So if you have a certain school you really are interested in, you need to make that call. Even these selective state schools, they keep track of calls. And what you call and say is my file complete? Do you need anything else from me? And they know, wow, so-and-so called, they were interested in knowing. That increases their belief that you'll come to the school if you're admitted, okay? It's probably a good idea to check if schools have received the FAFSA. You can order the student aid report, you can print it out and review the college list on it. I'm gonna give you the steps for that in just a minute on how to, or how to print out the student aid report. All right, let's look at the college enrollment and the financial aid review and award process. So the College Financial Aid Office's financial review starts with, can be verification. Verification, I explained earlier, is if you're selected for verification, they're going to ask for the tax transcript, right? That's why I show that here. It's the tax transcript. They could have forms they want you to submit. This is not tax forms. They'll never request your tax return. It's the transcript they're going to address. They're going to be forms for you to fill out, though. Again, if you get this verification request, you should really call me and let me help you through it, okay? The financial aid award will be made after verification. So that's how verification goes, okay? Well, a lot of you, probably most of you still will not get a review, a verification review, and they'll give you a financial aid award based only on your FAFSA and your student aid report. Of course, you could have a CS profile financial aid review process that goes on in parallel. and they might have you to upload your federal tax return to a third party, but the college cannot require it. That process we'll talk about later in this meeting is called IDOC. I think it's institutional document. It's an organization in Illinois that's a third-party organization created by private schools that can upload your tax return and give them a report on what's in it, similar to a transcript. And some schools have IDOC advise them what should be done in regard to it. Okay, they upload the return to the CS profile. It's unique to the CS profile process that I'm showing down here. And then you get your financial aid award. Now, I have dashed lines here because the CS profile is not required by every private school. There's only certain private, there's about 700 institutions. I think it's about 3,000 private schools in the country. So the majority of them do not require the CS profile. I told you there were a few state schools that require it too. Okay. Please review the college list on your student aid report. Students watch closely for financial aid correspondence in your portals and email. When you get financial aid correspondence, make sure you get it to your parents right away so they can review it and get it to me, or students, you can get a hold of me. I can tell you what it means. Please look for financial aid correspondence. Don't miss those. Some colleges will withhold the financial aid award until after verification, but most will give you a preliminary financial aid award first. I think they should, but some don't, and so they won't tell you the award till you go through verification. I think they do that to buy time because they get so many financial aid applications, they don't have to review yours at that time. But put the pressure right back on them by sending them that transcript right away. Remember, the one that you're going to order and you're going to have on hand when they do request verification. Remember, if you know your 2020 adjusted gross income, somebody like me can tell you what CSU will cost. Just ask me. Sometimes if the financial aid award is late and you need to make your decision, that's when I would call me. You have like you're going to CSU or UC, you still don't have the award. You're just going to be CSU. You don't have the award. All I will need to know is the adjusted gross, and I can tell you what the award will look like. And I'll be pretty close too. Okay. If I filed your FAFSA, check with me before you start the verification process. In fact, if you go through verification at all, even if I didn't file it, you should get a hold of me. Please do not make changes to your FAFSA while you're waiting for me to get a hold of you. I know it's a very stressful situation when a college tells you they're verifying, but try to not let that bother you, and let's go through it together. I can really set you at ease so you don't make any mistakes. Additional advice, I told you about ordering the transcript. Take a picture of this if you want to get that phone number. Of course, you'll have the presentation later. I hope that they've provided the link to the presentation, right? Where you'll get to see this anyway. When you call the number, it'll be mailed in 5 to 7 days. Be sure you're ordering the tax transcript and not the account transcript. They're going to be asking about both when you're listening on the phone. Make sure you pick the right number and order the tax transcript. If you file the CS profile, watch the student's email for additional financial aid requirements, such as the IDOC for uploading the PDFs of your tax returns and W-2s. You'll be able to upload those. If you watch the email closely, you'll get a number to use and how to get to the IDOC site. In fact, once you filed your CS profile, if you scroll down, it was telling you about IDOC requirements and other tax return requirements the campuses have that you apply to. You might have the rare private school that's gotten a waiver from the IRS and can ask for your tax transcript. It's really tedious for me to tell you why they can do that, but some of them are able to do it because it's something going on in their Title IV review by the government. Non-custodial parent documents are also required by a lot of the CS profile schools. I think my impression was there's more than ever that are requiring the non-custodial parent coming out of the pandemic here. They're really wanting to save on financial aid wherever they can. I shouldn't say financial aid, you'll see why in a minute. I should have said grants and scholarships. They want to save on that because they're coming out of a period where, as I told you before, a lot of these private schools really lost millions of dollars. Okay, anything in the chat I need to care about?
Deacon Wilson, can I ask you a question?
Of course, Sister Cox, you can ask.
You say order the 2022 federal tax transcript,
Yes,
but we're
you caught me.
okay. Okay.
You nailed me. You're good.
Okay. I just want to make sure we're doing this right. I'm like, wait, we haven't done 22. Okay.
It's the 2020. Good catch. I appreciate it. I think earlier in the presentation, I did it right. On the charts, I did it right when I showed the charts, right? All right, but it's the 2020, everybody, not 2022. Please get that right. It's always 2 years before. Thank you so much, Sister Cox. I appreciate that. Saved my life again. All right. How to print out FAFSA student aid reports. I have your steps right here. And you follow these steps, you'll be able to print out your student aid report. Or if you feel, I don't want to do all that, just email me, I'll send it to you. Christina or I will print it out for you and send it to you, okay? It's a PDF file. You don't really need it just set for your records because the college got a copy of it. It's not, you don't send it to the colleges, you don't upload it anywhere, it's just something for you. And some scholarship programs will ask for the student aid report. It's rare, but they do. And when they do, you just send them your copy of the student aid report. Again, if you're having trouble with it or just don't feel like doing it, email me and we will send you that student aid report so fast your head will spin. In fact, it may be more than one, but don't forget 10 schools are on each FAFSA. You can only do a maximum of 10 schools. So if you have 30 and 25 schools like some of you, of course, I can't get them all on. Even if it's just 12, I have to do it twice, right? There may be 3 or 4 student aid reports. You can find the school list on one of the last 2 pages. So you check that list of schools and make sure that includes all the schools you apply to. Any questions on that? Because anything in the chat? There's nothing in the chat for me, right, Christina?
Let's see. So there's one right here. I'm not sure if you answered it. I don't believe you did, from Ms. Juanita. Deacon Wilson, how long should you wait for the CSU or UC of your choice? When should we start to narrow our list and make a decision?
Yeah, I implied it, but did not answer, but did not specifically say it. Very good. So the decision day is May 1st. So I'd like to see everything done by the 25th of April. That's number one. When do you start hearing? You know, these CSUs are all over the ball yard. In fact, some of you here have already been accepted to CSUs. Some of the early ones have decided right after or right before Christmas. You get another, in another 2 weeks, you'll have a whole bunch doing it again. And then by the time we get to April 1st, the most selective CSUs, Long Beach, Fullerton, in some cases, Northridge, not all cases, Louis Obispo, and those kind of, and San Diego State, those kind of schools will wait till the last minute, like all the way into late March before they tell you. Then they'll give you 1 month to decide whether you're coming. So it varies. It's all over the ball yard for public universities in the state of California. Private schools, oh, they're all over the ball yard for sure. But most private schools aren't going to tell you until, February, March, April. The more selective the private school, the later they're going to tell you. UCs are typically from March 15th to March 30th, depending on the UC. That's why you need to be watching those portals, because you can't always tell when they're going to hear, oh, Sister Young's just coming. Okay.
I have a question kind of going off of that too, since my mom asked that.
Go right ahead.
There's no rush to get your deposit in, right?
No,
as far as okay.
No. Whenever I'm playing with other people's money, I always say no. It turns out, I even had a slide about that.
Mm-hmm.
Said, what about multiple deposits? And I said, how far will you go with that?
Right.
So I think you ought to wait. You ought to pick a school. Now, here's the problem with picking a school, as you saw earlier. If you have so many schools, how do you pick? And I say, I can always tell. I can get my popcorn out and sit at home and start eating it, because I do that at night sometimes. And I can tell who's going to go where by where they visit. So where your heart tells you to visit, because you can't visit them all. If all the schools are about the same cost, and Jillian, a lot of yours are, I'm going to be able to tell a lot by where you visit after you're admitted. And there's some you might look at visiting before you admitted, and those kind of things, Sister Juanita, actually help make it easier to decide if you do early visits to colleges. I think you've already signed up for a trip or two, and you're planning some things. You're doing the right things. So I'd visit schools that have a good chance. She has a good chance of getting into, and most of the CSUs, as you know, she has a good chance of getting into. So my opinion is just follow the dates. By the time we get to April 25th, I don't want anybody trying to go to the 29th and you have a bunch of schools you didn't visit. You can't decide. You're gonna have to pick one at that point because after May 1st, like, you know, was that in Cinderella? Who turns into a pumpkin? Is that Cinderella? I think that's Cinderella where the person
She gets into a pumpkin
oh
for carriage.
yeah. What happens when the clock strikes 12?
Oh yeah, it turned back into a pumpkin.
I got it right. I know my Disney theory. Hey, Mickey back here will be happy with me, right?
Right.
I know Quinn's happy with me. She probably wanted to yell it out. Anyway, all right. Let's see. Did that answer? That kind of kill that question? Did that answer it? I guess.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just asking because, like, you know, some of them that got back to you, like, they get back really early, with all that stuff, like,
Yeah, housing.
you know, and you're still waiting for the UCs and stuff.
Right. Those are aggressive schools.
Mm-hmm.
They should be. They should be aggressive.
Okay.
I want you to come there. You just sit there calmly and wait.
Okay.
Anybody else in the chat there? You bail me out.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Christina, anybody
Are you
else?
planning to visit Seattle?
South Pacific?
Pacific? Mm-hmm.
You ever go into a restaurant and there are things that are off the menu, but you're still going to do it? So yeah, I'm going to visit Seattle Pacific probably early April, and it's not on the menu. There's not many people applied, and I'd be interested in knowing who that is, but definitely go to my website and sign up for the trip. We don't have a trip listed for, but hey, Quinn, do we have other or anything there? No others, right?
No, but I can definitely make a field for that. And that was
wedge that in there, wedge it in the form.
Sure. And that was Carla Drisdom who asked.
Oh yeah. That's so smart. Yeah. This year with Seattle, well, I'll tell you. Well, we've got about 3 that are looking at the schools, Sister Carla. So that's actually a very good question. Okay, and that would be April that we would take that trip. Okay.
Thank you, Deacon.
Just give us a couple of days, and it won't be listed as a trip officially, but she's going to find a way to wedge it on that form if I know her. So when you click, any of the trips will pop up. Okay.
Okay.
You'll see Seattle Pacific listed. That's right. He got a nice scholarship there, everybody. That's why she asked about that. So I put him on blast. See there? All right. Okay. Let's see. Any other questions in the chat? Maybe? No? All right. I guess my people are throwing things in the chat.
You're good, Deacon.
Good.
Deacon Wilson, I have a quick question. This is Farron.
Doesn't have to be quick. Doesn't have to be quick.
UC San Diego. Farron did sign up for UC San Diego for February 11th.
So remember, and this is totally understandable, the confusion. So in San Diego, we have 3 pretty good schools, because even though it's not a college town, right? UC San Diego is a UC, and it's not even in San Diego. Did you know that? It's in La Jolla. Then we have San Diego State, which is in San Diego. But then we have a school called the University of San Diego, which is a private school down there on the lower east side of San Diego, right next to the coast, west side, right next to the coast, a beautiful school. It's a private college of about 5,000 students. We've sent a few of our students there. So that's a different school than UC San Diego. Okay. Which is a huge UC. I think it's the second largest north of San Diego, UC San Diego. All right. Yes.
Got it. So which one are you visiting?
University of San Diego.
Got it.
I'm not visiting UC San Diego.
Got it. So we'll go on our own.
Yeah, it's not in San Diego. Remember that.
No, I comprehend La Jolla.
Also,
the other question
you have to make is when to visit UCs. Do you wait till you're accepted or not? And that's always the difficult decision with UC. Go ahead.
The other question is in reference to transcripts.
Yes.
Can you get them online?
I don't know. It depends on your school.
The tax transfers.
Oh,
Tax transfers.
yeah.
Sorry.
Here's the phone number again. Look at the first bullet. So you can order your 2020 federal income tax return by dialing 908-9946 number, and you tell them you need the federal tax transcript.
But you said it takes.
You can order it on the phone.
Oh, order it on the phone, but can't you do it online also on the computer?
It's a little more complicated. Going to ask for more ID and all that.
Oh, okay.
Got to
Okay.
upload ID. It's very complicated.
Okay, thank you.
I always tell people just to call because it's so easy. Okay. It's even easier. Get this. It's easier to go to one of their local field offices and get it printed out than it is to do it online and order it. Isn't that weird? All right. Okay, let's continue on. Visit. Okay, got some questions here, I believe. Who raised their hand?
Good evening, Deacon. This is Rosie.
I know.
So my apologies for joining late.
You missed the first part. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so we received from UCLA a request for Yolanda to complete a supplemental questionnaire.
You see my follow-up question about that?
I did not.
Yeah, I want to see I'm curious about what they're asking. I'm just curious.
Oh, yeah, we sent it to you. So we sent
I haven't
you.
seen it yet. Do it again. I didn't see it.
Oh, okay. So we'll do that again then.
Definitely do it again. I did not. I've been hawking. Man, my email's being hawked this time of year.
Okay, will do.
So they're all different. I don't want to comment until I see it.
Okay.
But that's
Thank
something
you.
they're doing this year more than any other year. And that's what I said in the email. More than any other year, they are going to be doing that. And so if you get one of those, and what they do is they make it a very short due date, like a week or 2 weeks usually, and you got to get it done. Now, thing is, they also say, this is optional. You don't have to do it. But how many of you really think it's actually optional?
It's not. Farron got this thing due February 4th.
Got to be a little careful with it. I might do a video on how to answer those. Quinn, that's a good thing to remind me about.
Yeah,
Quinn?
Yolanda's is due on February 4th as well.
All right, so Quinn, that's a good thing to remind me about. There's a certain page on this buried in their website. Oh no, it's only for counselors. There is a page for counselors which tells you kind of how you deal with those based on what usually they're sending you that. They're not sure of one of 14 things that they look for in the application. And I can show you how to figure that out. But I got to know what they're asking you or it won't matter, right? All right, okay. Any other questions? Some people usually ask, does that mean they're not getting in? No. Hey, look, admissions offices are actually called admissions offices for a reason. They're trying to find reasons to admit you. They're not called non-admissions offices, are they? So if they send you that, I consider it good news. They want to know more about you. There's something in your application. They want to get more context on the application. Okay. Any questions about that?
No other questions. Thanks so much.
All right. Is there another chat question there? It's getting down toward the end. That's good. Okay. All right. I guess my peeps are answering out there. I won't look. Okay. Visiting colleges. You visit the college that you visit college. You might visit colleges you will not attend, but get this. The college you attend, you will have visited. Don't go to colleges you didn't visit. I have now 5 students that have come home from college. After the first semester, there were colleges they didn't visit. Now, understand me, they didn't visit because there were COVID restrictions. But I don't know if you're going to have COVID restrictions this year. In fact, many campuses, when the Omicron hit, they just stayed open for tours. Because some people have figured out that Omicron's for younger students just a big cold. I know about 12 people that have gotten Omicron. It doesn't seem to be very serious. And colleges are very reluctant to close again like they did before. Costing them a lot of money. Please do not attend a college you do not visit. Visit colleges when they are open and have students and staff present. Oh, isn't that the truth? Don't visit schools on the weekend, then conclude that they're deserted. Of course they're deserted. There are other campuses that aren't on the weekends, but you know what I mean. And that's why I'm a little bit on the Sonoma trip. We may get a private tour of the trip They may say they're closed for tourists, but they're going to let us tour, but their students are going to be there, right? I'm working on that right now at the Sonoma State tour, by the way. Should be a lot of fun. Anybody? I got about 4 of you going on that trip, maybe 5 actually. There is a need, if possible, for early narrowing down of choices, since most students can apply for many more colleges than they can visit. So some of you probably, even though you applied to certain schools, you need to start thinking about practically about whether you're going to get to be able to visit. And I'll tell you a little bit about how that works. Since airfares get really expensive when you get within 2 weeks of a date, there's only a finite amount of schools you can visit. And if you have 20 or 30 schools, maybe it doesn't take that many, maybe even 12 or 13. If they all have good offers, unfortunately, you probably won't be able to visit all the schools. Because if not any other reason, how can you keep your studies and be traveling a whole month to see schools? Some schools are nice, they give you time off to visit schools, but it's a very brief amount of time. You have to get your air ticket for that period, right? The colleges usually have all their events in April. They're open houses, so they're trying to get you to come. We call these yield events because colleges want to want a nice yield of students going to the school. This heater's working too good. Let me turn it off. But the problem you'll find out is it always happens. If you have 5 schools you like a lot, 3 of their open houses will be the same day. What do you do then? There's usually the 3rd and 2nd Saturday of the month, the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd Saturday of April are big open house days. So it's good if you can get to visit some of those schools earlier. I know we don't have unlimited travel budgets, but that's probably the truth. See our college visits on our website. Like I said, on our websites, if you click on, I think on more and then new events and scroll down, you'll see all of our travel and our dates and our costs and everything. It'll have a link for you to click and to register for the trip. We'll get right back to you. We stopped looking at it for about 4 days last week to prepare for this meeting, and we knew none of the trips were really impending, so we weren't going to have a problem, no deadlines. And if you register before my deadline, you're fine, okay? We did do this already, so I can skip on through this. Okay, now this is the part of the meeting that I really feel the strongest about. It's new, I've never done it this way. Here's some important financial aid definitions. What is financial aid? Because I hear people say all the time, how much financial aid did you get? Or what's your financial aid? Or she didn't get a lot of financial aid. Or hope I get a lot of financial aid. Well, let's see what we mean by financial aid. Well, financial aid is in 2 parts, the way I look at it. There's going to be loans, which like the federal student loan, which is going to be $5,500 the first year. Everybody will be offered that, by the way. The parent loan for undergraduate students is typically on financial aid awards. But I have something to say about that in the next few graphs that'll be helpful to you. The second type of financial aid is Pell Grant, work study, institutional need-based grants, institutional, academic, athletic, or artistic. I call them the 3 A's. The 3 A's of merit are academic, athletic, or artistic merit awards. And this is free money, okay? What I don't have there, I have need-based grants. The problem is usually a lot of it's need-based grants, and a lot of private schools, it's very difficult to get need-based grants unless the income of the family is lower. In fact, HBCUs doesn't even do need-based grants at all. They just don't do them. It's only going to be the federal need-based Pell Grant, work study, and no institutional awards either. That's interesting. So it's only going to be the Pell Grant and student loans. Occasionally there's an academic merit award with a Black school, but Black schools aren't the only ones like that. There are a lot of other schools that just don't do too much granting at all. Especially now coming out of the pandemic, the smaller privates are holding back on their funds. Many people will tell you, parents, they got a free ride. In reality, they have loans, okay? Now, it might be that it's still a good financial aid award package, but there's loans in everybody's package, even student athletes. I've explained that before. Let's talk about relevant financial aid. We know what financial aid is, right? We know what financial aid is. Now let's talk about relevant financial aid. What's relevant financial aid? Or relevant meaning what's important financial aid? What is the most important financial aid? Well, first of all, you look at loans, I don't think the PLUS loan is relevant. because they're going to be telling you what they think you should take for the plus loan. Whereas you as a parent should figure out what the plus loan should be. And often, if you do it right, it's a number way lower than they had set aside for you to get to loan and get loans for. So make your loans as small as they have to be. So I take that off and make it non-relevant. In these grants and this free money, supposedly, I don't count federal work study, and I'll tell you why on the next view graph, okay? I do not think students should do federal work study. They shouldn't be pushed into that. And a lot of times schools will make the federal work study very large. And unfortunately, that's not good for them to do that because that's not money you're guaranteed. You have to work for it. And who's going to show up to a school and the first day of school be working enough hours to get that kind of money? I don't recommend it at all. I think it's too much stress on students. Now, I might think students should work. We'll talk about that in a minute, but federal work study where it's like $7 and $8 an hour is certainly not appropriate. You know, when they raised all these minimum wages on federal workers, they didn't do anything with work study. I think students should plan not to work the first year in college. As a matter of fact, let's talk about it some more. In case you're interested, here's why federal work study is not relevant financial aid. First of all, it's so small, it's not going to go toward the bill. It's going to be for spending money, to which you might say, well, at least it's something. Okay, right, but it's not going to lower the bill. Let's see if it's worth it, though. Students can make way more for less hours at other campus and slightly off-campus jobs. And I'll tell you, that is so true. EEP does not recommend students work their first year of college. Why is that? The priority should be to meet lots of students your first year because you're looking for a roommate next year. If you don't meet anybody, who's going to room with you? You'll be stuck paying that high on-campus housing cost. You can save a lot of money being off campus or just across the street or in off-campus housing provided by the university. The more time you can bond with the campus the first year, the more likely you are to finish college. So I think that you know, we get too much into this work study or working that first year off campus, you're missing time bonding with the campus. The first year as a first year student, you should be getting used to what's going on your campus, meeting all the people you can meet, having all the fun you can have, and keeping your studies up. That kind of balance is absolutely required. And we'll be teaching you during the spring before you go to college how to do that. Because our students finish college 84% of the time. Now, parents, if your students are not here and you want them to come to me, you know, beg them to come, bribe them, because I really help them. I'm really going to help them to finish college. But a lot of them feel like they don't need that and they can handle it themselves. But I take it very seriously, our role in helping students to finish college. Remember, 44% of middle-class students, only 44% of middle-class students finish college in 5 years. 44%. Think about that. About half nationwide at all income levels finish college. It's actually a crisis. Other important financial aid definitions. What is direct cost? It's college costs that are on the bill or are fixed costs. Tuition and mandatory fees, for example, are direct costs. Then there's housing, food, you got to eat. And if you have health insurance, you purchase it from the campus. If you don't have insurance, that's going to be part of your direct cost for the college. But if you have your own insurance, you don't have to do that. What is the indirect cost of college? Books, travel, spending money, technology, et cetera. Those are indirect costs. They're not on the bill. And typically, that's what your scholarship's going to pay for. Those $1,500 and $2,000 scholarships usually going to pay your indirect costs. Occasionally, I see them helping with direct costs, but usually that's something that's handled by your financial aid and your parents. What is EFC of a college? Well, EFC means expected family contribution. Until the Obama administration, they changed it. It used to be estimated family contribution, but it changed to expected family contribution. So that's very clear what it is now. EFC is printed on the upper right corner of the student aid report, which is created by the feds from the FAFSA. What do you call it? Spoiler alert. If your income was below 35,000, maybe even 40 in some cases, the EFC is zero. It'd just be zeros, right? They don't think you can pay. And in most cases, when it's zero for a CSU or UC, you're not going to pay much for college at all, maybe not anything. You will still pay for private colleges. We'll talk about that. What does EFC mean? It's not actually what universities will make you pay. You can determine what that will be from the financial aid award of each university. That's how you tell what you're going to pay. That's why we're going to quickly look at that again. Most universities review your EFC to assist them in determining how much need-based grants you get, if they award them. Now remember, many universities do not award need-based grants. Even though your EFC is zero, they may not have a policy of giving grants. I gave the example of Black schools, but there are a lot of them that doesn't matter if you only make an family income of $30,000, you're going to pay something for Howard University. You're going to be expected to pay $25,000 to go there, even though you don't have the money. So don't think the EFC is like a federal law that says this is what you're going to pay, right? And by the way, it works the other way too. Your EFC can be really high, 70 and 80,000, but yet because of merit awards, you pay way less for school, right? So EFC doesn't mean that's what you're going to pay. All universities use it to determine how much public aid you receive: loans, Pell Grant, work study, Cal Grant. Public aid meaning state or federal aid. They all use it for that, okay? Most of my demographic is not eligible for federal aid. Now, if I ran the federal aid system, and there would be merit-based federal aid, but we don't have a system that does merit-based federal aid, unfortunately. Other general information about EFC: the lower the EFC, the more need-based aid for which a student is eligible. So a lower the number is better for getting a lower number. When EFC is zero or under $1,000, the federal aid plus the state aid will cover 90 to 98% of the college direct costs, depending on the school. Oh, well, I'm talking about public universities there, okay? Private schools, that's not true, all right? Even when the EFC equals zero, most private colleges expect payment of $9,000 to $18,000 per year. HBCU is up to $35,000 they'll expect. The exceptions highly depend on the GPA then, if there's any exceptions. GPA and SAT, I should have said that, I'm sorry. It's GPA and SAT. So a lot of schools don't require the SAT to apply, but they require it to determine the amount of aid you'll get, scholarship, or even need-based aid. For most private colleges, it's mostly totally ignored. I'm sorry, I didn't say that right. They ignore the EFC when the income is greater than $60,000. They just don't even look at the EFC anymore. They have a certain policy that they award financial aid based on, okay? Other important definitions: what is unmet financial need of a college? I should have closed that grin. The total cost of a college is the direct cost plus the indirect costs. So you have those direct costs we talked about, but then there's indirect costs that we also listed there too: books and spending money and personal expenses, all that stuff is indirect. The unmet need is the total cost of a school minus what you're expected to pay and minus any institutional grants. There'll be an amount left over. A lot of schools will tell you you have an unmet need of X thousands of dollars, and that number is what they're going to expect you to pay. It's funny, that number it's like that's another expected family cost if you think about it that way. So your EFC does not in any way truthfully say what you will owe. It's the financial aid office and the financial aid policy of the school that's going to determine how they read all this unmet need. Now, there used to be a lot of schools that met the unmet need. There's a few now that do, coming out of the pandemic. Seattle Pacific is one of them. Grand Canyon is another one that meet the unmet need, but usually students don't want to go to those schools. Very few schools meet or even 80% meet all of the unmet need, okay? Many schools base their admission decision on how much unmet need exists. That's right. Some schools peek and look at your financial aid, at your FAFSA data, and determine whether you're admitted. And unfortunately, we have some schools, we call it need blind when they don't look. and we'll say they're not need blind if they do look. Some of the schools that look, Stanford, USC, Chapman, they look. They peek and see. Schools that don't look, LMU, GW, schools like that, and other schools too that don't look. Pepperdine doesn't look, where they just find out whether you're in, then they figure out, the financial aid, and in other words, the admissions office never looks to see. The implication is that they have a quota of how many students they're going to give free tuition to, say, like USC does. And when they've exceeded that quota because of GPA, because of the application scoring, remember, every application is scored based on the quality of the application. And the ones that score the highest and have the lowest income, right, can get access to those funds for the free tuition or free things they're offering, swifter than other students. But nowadays, if a student is, Black, frankly, or Hispanic, they'll waive that and they'll try to get those students in the school now. So it's an interesting situation right now. Let's see, any other questions on the chat? Christina?
No questions.
No questions. Okay. What will I owe for college? We're almost done. Here we go. Just remember, we've talked a little about this. Now here it is in pictorial form. You take the relevant financial aid, which is the direct student loan and the institutional grants and scholarships. You're going to practice this in just a minute. Yeah, we have a test coming up next, parent. This test is for parents, okay, coming up in a minute. This is the review for the test. So once again, let me go back. Oops. Start with the relevant financial aid, which is the direct student loan and the institutional grants. Notice there's not a parent loan there, nor is there work study, is it? Because they're not relevant. Minus the direct cost of the college. And that'll tell us how much the school costs. Just as simple as that, okay? So when you look at your financial aid award, I want you to be able to have with a calculator. You want to get it ready now, by the way, or your phone's a calculator maybe. With your phone, you're going to look at a financial aid award from ABC University, and you're going to determine what the cost of that is. Okay, the cost of that school will be. Okay, and I'll show this chart again in a minute. A negative amount for direct, once you do that subtraction, means that you owe for college. Positive amount means it's a surplus. Okay, let's continue on. All right, there it is. Okay, parents, here we go. Here's the test. Maybe your student can help you. You need a calculator available. Hope you participate. It'd be cool. What is the relevant? Here's the financial aid award from ABC University, right? What is the relevant financial aid award total? Now, these totals are not right. That's what that implies, right? Because it's something you have to do to get the real totals. All right, what is the relevant financial aid for this example? And then I'm going to ask you how you got it. I'll give you a minute or so. When you think you have it, just, I guess, raise your hand. I'll find you here. Let me see. I'll find you. What is the relevant financial aid for ABC University? This is the financial aid award here for fall and spring of next year. How much financial aid up here is relevant? What's relevant? What's important and what's not? How much? Anybody? See what we got here. Let's see who we got here. Sister Sherry. No, not Sister Sherry, not her. Oh, Sister Roxanne, are you there? Sister Roxanne? Okay. Marva? Are you there, Marva?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, you didn't want to admit it, did you? Oh shit. Okay, all right. Shame on you. Okay, I'll give you a break. So I'm not going to ask Sister Cox. I don't want to ask her. I want to ask Juanita, Sister Juanita, my buddy. Sister Juanita, are you here? She's not here, is she?
I don't think she's here anymore.
Well, how about you? How about you?
Okay.
A calculator?
No, I don't have a calculator right now.
Anybody working on this? Sister Rose, I know you're looking at this. Sister Rose?
Do you add it all up?
Sure. So you look at all, I added up here, right? I already added them up, didn't I?
Mhm.
The question is, which ones of these should we cross out?
Work study, cross out.
Who did that?
Miss Drisdom.
Aha. So
Cross out.
means you got to
Cross out
subtract.
and cross out federal parent loan.
That's correct.
So
That's it.
subtract but 9 from the 22,598.
Yeah. And what do you get?
9. That's 13.
13,598 on both of these.
Right.
That's what the real, and you add them up, what do you get?
Oh, shit.
I can't do this and watch with my calculator. You got to help me, Deacon. So
Well,
if you knock off,
I tell you what,
knock off 8,
13,500 even. So 13,500 added together.
27,000. Right.
So, but down here I asked per semester. So you're right, I'm wrong. So down here put $13,598 per semester.
Right.
Remember, it's times 2, right?
Right.
But we're just asking per semester, aren't we? All right, now let's go over here. Let's go over this side now. I have this new big cat of mine, and it's a huge cat. She's trying to take over the screen here. I didn't know cats got this big. All right. Okay. Quinn, are you laughing at me?
I actually am, yes.
She's got to look at this cat. Okay, she's sitting there now. It's cool. All right, now we know it's 13,598. Now let's take that 13,598, Sister Drism. You're going to work with me?
Yes.
Let's subtract the direct cost. How much is the direct cost of this school here?
The 12,290.
Yeah. So do your subtraction. What do you got?
Okay, hold on. Let me go back to.
Like your amount you got over here.
Right. I got to go to my calculator. So we had 13,598
minus.
Okay, hold on if I can get my calculator work. 13,598 minus 12,590.
That's correct. What do you get?
1,008.
So this is good. This is a school where you're going to get a refund.
That's very good.
I designed that one this way, right, everybody?
Yeah.
But you get the idea. That's
I do. This is helpful.
Good.
Very helpful.
Say what we do. We're going to do one more. Okay. Just one more.
Okay.
Again, parents, if you're wondering what we're doing, if you came a little late, it's the relevant financial aid. Thank you, Sister Drisden. It's a direct student loan plus the institutional grants and scholarships. So as she said, it does not include the parent loan, nor does it include work study. And that's how you get your relevant aid. And you subtract from it the direct cost of the school. And a negative amount means you owe for the college. Again, you'll consult this presentation when you're looking at your financial aid awards, or you'll watch this video because you'll have the video too, or access to the video. Because every time I do a video and we go live, that video is edited and available online for you to watch. You just go on my video site and you can look at old sessions, everything. All right, here's another financial aid award. Here we go. Here's a financial aid award. Looks pretty cool when you look at it, doesn't it? I got 38,000 here. I got a free ride, y'all. I got me a free ride. Well, let's see if it is. First of all, what is the relevant financial aid? How should we figure it out? Anybody else want to try this time? Somebody want to try? What's the relevant? What do we have to get rid of here? Come on.
Isn't it trustee scholarship?
No, you want to keep scholarships. You're not going to get rid of those. Wouldn't we want to keep that?
I thought you just meant, of course. I thought you just
Of course, that's right.
I thought you just meant specific to financial aid.
The question is, what do we scratch out on this list?
The parent loan.
Who said that?
Casey.
Aha! Casey, we seem to be talking a lot lately, huh?
Yeah.
So you're going to cross that out. And I think you all can see if we take that from the 38, that's really only about 19,000, yes? Right, Sister Casey?
Right. So you end up with
38,000 total, but 19,000 would go
minus here. 20, yeah.
Minus 39,500.
Right.
So you're going to owe $20,000 a semester.
Right.
And then that's where you get into how am I going to pay this? You might end up taking the loans, but at least you know what the school costs.
What are the direct loans? Subsidized and direct loan unsubsidized?
I'll cover that in 1 second, I promise. I'll pivot right to it in a second, but I want to make a comment. That if you owe $20,000 for college per semester, you got to figure out $40,000 a year, how you're going to pay for this school. And what happens there is my cat's here. Funny. We got to figure out that point is what we're going to do. But the point of this is now you go to your next school and do the calculation. Then the next school will do the calculation, and eventually you will compare to all your schools. And eventually you'll be able to determine which one is the best deal for you.
Deacon Wilson, can you expect that if this is the award that's given in the first year, that you can extrapolate forward so that subsequent years you can expect something reasonably the same, or is that not the case?
It's going to pretty much stay the same if your financial situation stays the same or gets better.
So if you owe, I'm going to just say 10,000 a year, you can count on that 10,000 for all of the 4 years.
Yeah, 40,000, right?
Yeah.
Well, I would determine it that way, but there's two factors that determine what it will really be. Sometimes your student does things. There's 18 things they can do to have a smaller financial footprint the next year.
Okay.
And I really specialize it. I just had to do something to get my cats apart. Sorry. And one of the things I do is I just a minute, everyone. I'm sorry. 1 second. 1 second. Just 1 second, okay? Okay, you heard us saying herding cats. That's what I just did. Okay, so there's two factors that let's take this $40,000 one. It probably won't be $40,000 the next year because of three factors. Number one, the student direct loan increases slightly and the plus loan goes down. Number two, they may get a roommate and live off campus, or live off campus housing could lower it. But there's 18 things that could happen in your life and their life to make it lower each year. And my experience is that generally you can count on that the lowest year will be half of what it is the first year. But that means you got to, but that means you got to do the in-between years. They'll go 35, 30, 20, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people think, well, he's just gonna have to get a job. Well, even getting a job can only do so much, as I showed you earlier. It really is going to be heavy lifting for a family. It really going to affect, it affects most of our retirements.
The fall and the spring, the 38,000, this is applicable to both semesters?
Yeah, you look at I'm looking at it the way the schools look at it, because if you don't perform academically, they don't award the spring till you perform for the first semester.
So the first semester is 40,000. Second semester is 40,000.
Wait. In this example here, or in general in life?
I'm looking at the total cost. So
wait. So this one you should have on this line down here is where I said you could put 20,000
for the year
per semester. Look at it.
Oh, okay. So that's 40,000. Yeah. So the number is 40,000 a year, because I'm thinking, okay, 70,000 for the year. Or 75.
Wait, this is the financial aid is 20. Let's go through the whole thing, okay?
No, I understand it. I'm just looking at the total cost for the year. I get the math really well. But I'm just looking at the total cost.
Just tell everybody else, okay? That's what goes over here, everybody else, 20,000 a year. Okay, now go per semester. Now go ahead. What about?
Okay, so it's 40,000. Okay, that's what I thought. It's not 70 or 75,000 per year.
But that's what it would be without any aid, right?
Yeah, without any aid, I think the school would be $80,000 school.
Right. Okay.
See, I want to caution you that this 50% off example that I'm showing you here, it's a 50% off example. It doesn't make it a good deal. It depends on whether you can do the debt. That's what makes it a good deal. Whether you can do up to 160,000 for 4 years and probably 135,000. But really it could be 160 because you pay it off over a 10-year period, it'll be well over 160. So you're like financing another piece of property here.
Where? In Alabama, not California.
No, actually, it could be in some.
Okay.
Out into some, a small house in San Gabriel Valley, it could be.
Yeah. Okay. So I see what you're saying. Factor that across.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this example is just the way it came out. The last one, there weren't any questions. Just you saw the person didn't know anything. Nobody usually has questions on that graph, but this is one where it comes. This is just the way I picked the example, right? And it's a common example for $80,000 school. It's pretty common. But the big thing you should take away from this is make sure you decide how much parent loan you're going to do. Don't let the school do it for you. You might have savings. You might have ways of attacking it. Each year you should go through this process. And then you compare each school the same way, right? Don't compare the schools differently because you like them. Just do them all the same exact way and you'll know what you owe for that school. Any other questions?
Yeah, Deacon Wilson, this may be off topic, and if
when you
so,
talk about money, nothing's off topic.
So when we start to do this comparison for the schools that our sons and daughters are admitted to,
Mm-hmm.
in your opinion, how much should this piece of information weigh on decision making? I mean, me personally, I don't think my son knows really what he wants to do. So why would I spend $40,000 a year when I could spend 5 or 0? Like, how much weight should this analysis take?
Well, I would say that I would not pay more than for a private school than I would pay for an in-state school. And that's a fair comparison because if you go to most people's cases who are making well above the amount for a Pell Grant, consider this: CSU would cost you 17 to 20. A selective CSU would cost you 17 to 22,000 a year off one campus.
Mm-hmm.
I have a hard time in my mind rationalizing 20,000 more for each.
Mm-hmm.
Rationalizing 30,000, 40,000 is hard for me.
Yeah.
But people do it. And, that's why I'm here to let them know all their options. And then typically, a lot of times I get the calls in the second or third year. Is there any way I can get out of this parent loan? And I tell them there's no way. I have the image of an animal caught in a fence. You can't pull it back, you'll hurt it, right?
Mm.
So they're in there, you have to just push them through, and it does mean a lot of debt. And remember, for the parent loan debt, no one's ever discussed forgiveness of parent loan debt. They never talk about it. I always throw slippers. I'm going to throw things at the TV when they're talking about student loans, because that's not the problem we have in America. The problem is parent loans.
Agreed.
Because
Right. That is so true. That is so true.
And the thing is that, because really, I think students should pay the subsidized loans. Now, to pivot to your question, I think they should pay them. I think they should have direct loans. You know why? Because they shouldn't get college for free. Hello. College students should feel that college costs something.
Right.
But they just shouldn't be so absorbent. But
do you think $300 a month for 4 years is fair?
No, I just mean college in general. I don't mean the loan for the kids.
Well, actually, you know what? I've been thinking a lot about that lately. Was that Sister Marva? Who was that?
Miss Drisdom.
Miss Drisdom. I've been thinking a lot about that lately. And I think that since students can go locally to school and it costs nothing, I think it depends on, I think we're talking about, we have a going away to private college problem. Did you follow that?
I heard you.
Yes.
It's a going away to college problem. It's not as much of a college cost problem as we think.
Explain.
Okay, because I've had students go to local CSUs and are now making 100,000 a year.
And so compared to a private institution.
Right. So it's not so much the school as the student and how they've been prepared to go to school and how they're prepared to do careers. It's not really the name of the school that does it as much as people think. Because I've had students be successful from all kinds of schools.
But they have to be ready to be driven in that way, right? So.
Well, yeah. Well,
yeah.
I mean, but I've had students go to Bakersfield. One of them's an area vice president for Target, who's 8 years out of Bakersfield, and she's making 200,000 a year. And she went to Bakersfield.
But she could possibly be extremely aggressive, right?
Well, that's what it's all about. It's all about your student. And the question,
right.
This question is, can a college turn your student into a different person? I think a college can help a student, but not make them different.
Well, for sure.
It's your parenting in the community that does that. Obviously, you want an education director that believes that.
Right. But I also do believe, Deacon Wilson, the graduation retention rate at certain schools are much higher than other. So for me, I want Farron with peers that are very focused, extremely focused.
Sure, you can do that. But I have a question for you. What do you think the college graduation rate of students in my program is versus society?
Well, I'm sure sure your program.
Excuse me?
I'm sure your program is high. The graduation rate.
Already just her being around me, it's going to be high.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Right.
That's proof of how we get them ready is what does it.
Right. Well, Farron will be in big trouble. She don't.
Also, by the way, parents, you're parenting. Most of the parents here in the top 2% of parents. Don't you think that that's going to have an impact on how they do? Or if you don't, why do you do what you do? Because you bad.
Right. But I still
stop doing it. Then stop. But you won't stop because you know why you won't. Because you know you're bad. Come on now, y'all. Let's just be honest. Y'all know y'all bad. Get out of here. I look around. Who's in this room? Come on, y'all are bad. Get out of here. So that's what causes students to finish college, not the name of the school.
No, I agree. But some of these schools have low graduation rates. That's the students. I don't want friends with those kids at all. Period.
Well, please.
So don't invite her to the party. Stop being friends with her, and I don't want her there. Go where everybody.
Good luck with that.
My experience
I know. I don't want her there. Period.
My experience is that the students that are making a lot of money in an elite and high class party more.
Deacon Wilson, I have a question about
you didn't respond to that.
No.
I agree because they're less worried. They're less driven.
Yeah, that's right. Sister Casey, the parents will take them. They'll take them, write them a check anyway.
Oh, no.
It's black ones too. It's black ones. It's not just white ones, y'all.
We know. Deacon Wilson, I have a question regarding the direct student loans subsidized and the direct loans unsubsidized.
What about them?
You said it's $300 a month for 4 years.
I actually lied. It's really $270.
$270 a month for 4 years.
If they make the payments on time.
That's the student, right?
That's the student. And I think they should. If they can't pay $270.
No, I concur. Because they're going to pay it for a car.
Are they paying that while they're in school?
Did you say should or are they?
Are they supposed to be paying that while they're in school?
This is one of the reasons that I love when you hear the questions you ask, Sister Casey. So I'm going to answer your question, then I'm going to put the word should in. They usually don't, but I think they should. I think students should pay interest only while they're in college.
But are they required to under the
law? Not required to.
Okay.
And by the way, whoa. Their loans are interest-free while they're in college.
Oh.
That's the time you make payments, though.
Got it.
Right.
And by the way, just to let you know, right now, all student loan payments interests are waived through May now.
Right.
I expect that will stay that way forever. Because we should have never been charging interest for loans. Because it's a government loan, it's just a tax.
It's the same cost as a car note. So if you're paying, prioritize it. You can pay the student loan versus paying your car, especially if you're close to campus.
We're going to cover budgeting in the spring, summer, but I feel like if a student can't afford $270 a month when they graduate, something went wrong while they were in college, which is why I'm spending a lot of time with career development for my alumni. I call them alums. When they graduate, they become alumni of our program. And I know we spend a lot of time, right, Quinn? And I know Ricardo's not here today. We have a staffer that does nothing but alumni stuff and gets stuff to me. And I'm dealing with the students. They'll probably see more of me when I'm in college, when they're in college. Because I think in college is where determines what they're going to be and gets the most out of their investment.
Right.
And so these loans are an investment in their future. They shouldn't get college for free. I don't agree with free college, by the way, in case you're wondering. I think when you get something for free, you don't respect it.
You don't work as hard.
Take it for granted.
Take it for granted.
Agreed. Yep.
So I have no problem. I don't, that's it. That's all I'm saying. So I have no problem with direct student loans. I don't know why I even put subsidized and unsubsidized, because everything's subsidized now. There's no interest on student loans. I'm actually going to change this. But you can see it adds up to $5,500 when you add them up. And that's something all the schools will put on the every financial award, it will be there. It's entitlement funds, it will be there, it's there. And the schools know it's going to be there. And they actually want you to get it to them as soon as you can. They send you paperwork right away. I think that answers your question, Sister Yolanda, about the direct loans. Those are
yes, thank you. Yeah, the two, right. I like the 270 and no interest.
Yeah, well, actually, it's 270. That's 270 probably includes the interest, by the way. So I think it might even be lower.
Oh, okay. Oh, great. Thank you.
I probably gave you worst case. I keep forgetting loans right now.
Farron has a personal finance class this year. She had it last semester, and this semester I wanted her to take it this summer, but she was too busy with all her other stuff. But
right.
I'm glad she has that class.
All right. So once again, to summarize, when you get that financial aid award, determine the relevant financial aid, which is the direct student loan plus the institutional grants. Subtract the direct costs of the school, which you can find usually on the award, or just Google it. Google direct costs, Stanford, whatever. You'll find it's right out there online. Okay. A negative amount means that you owe for college. All right. Now I'm going to send you a tool a sheet that will help you. You just put the amounts in of your relevant age. You'll tell what you owe. I'll send it uniquely to people who are in this meeting. Okay. I'll send you that sheet. I think we'll have enough room for 8 colleges, but just use it over and over if you need to. It's a spreadsheet. And you'll be
Thank you.
That'll be helpful to you now that you've had the presentation, right? I think that's it for me. I got all the questions a minute ago. Any other questions from anybody?
Now I have a question.
Wait, I'm sorry, I owe somebody a response back. Sister Marva, did that make sense though? Kind of. I know it's a little. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
And anybody else? Can now go, Sister Yolanda.
Farron talked to Stanford, and they said that all first year students have to live on campus. That's a requirement.
Right, that's a requirement. I forgot about that. That's a requirement of private colleges. Sometimes it's 2 years.
They said it's mandatory the first